Yo. Are we on the air? Yeah, we're live. We're live. Nets World. We support Kyrie, Brooklyn Strong, and Level Up. New edition.
Got the new one. Leveling up, Nets level.
Strong, and Level Up.
Where's that coming from?
Got the new one.
Oh, that's coming from my speaker. I probably shouldn't be connected to that. Okay. Still working out some kinks here. Good morning. Nets World. Good morning, Nets World. I see y'all in the chat.
Day.
Luis Mena, Aragon Frost, Dion Wynn, Guillermo McLean, Suchich Rao. Hey, all my guys. Andy, sports fan. What up? Welcome. You know what we're about to do. We're about to
Everybody pull up.
Everybody pull up.
What a day. What a day to be a Nets fan. 2-0.
The sun is shining.
Yo, sports fan, why didn't you come and say what's up to Keith? I was not there, but
I saw you, Keith, on the Jumbotron. I was the section. Yo, y'all got to pull up on me, man. I promise I don't bite. I'm a nice guy. I see people in the stadium, Yankee Stadium. I see people in the arena, Barclays Center, and I'm flattered that there's talking Nets fans that pull up and they ask, where's Hudson? They don't really care about me. They're looking for Hudson. They see me and they're like, Hudson Flynn's not here? Bro, why didn't you bring Hudson to the game? You're bugging.
Had to hold down the Twitter. It was a great night for the Twitter as well. Everything was bang. We had Blake go viral back-to-back dunks. I think he has 19 dunks since joining the Nets and 0 in his whole time with the Pistons.
PFT, Big Cat and them, you know they love that.
PFT was quote tweeting us. That was fun. That was a good time last night. But let's get it, Keith. Right? Let's get into this.
All right, man. I am recording now. My audio is recording, and I'm going to count us in, and we're going to start in 5, 4.
Count me in, Keith.
3, 2, 1. Talking Nets. Episode 105. Boston sucks. Your Brooklyn Nets go up 2-0, completely in control. If you watched the game last night, you know what I'm talking about. There was never a doubt. Like, that game was over as soon as the ball tipped off. Energy. I was in the Barclays Center last night with the Brooklyn Brigade, the block, like with all the fans, all the rappers. Hudson was holding down the Twitter for Nets Twitter, going off. Obviously, you saw the tweets going crazy, man. We're going to talk about game 1 just a little bit, but then we're going to talk about game 2 and everything else going on in our world, Nets world. Talking Nets. Let's get it. And then Brooklyn, we go hard. Brooklyn, we go hard. Yes, sir. Welcome back to Talking Nets, episode 105. Good morning. We're live after a crazy night at the Barclays Center. Keith McPherson and Hudson Flynn joining you on a Wednesday morning. We're off tonight, but we're working. We owe you a podcast after every 2 games, so we're here. Hudson Flynn, can you say hello to the people?
What is up, everybody? Everybody listening at home on their way to work through the podcast app, through Spotify. We got the live YouTube chat. Everybody's pulling up. Everybody's talking Nets. And, man, it's a great day to be a Nets fan. The Nets are up 2-0 on the Boston Celtics. They controlled at home, and they're going to control on the road. And, look, here's my line for the podcast, Keith. I'll get it out right off the top so that we can, notice the theme so that the audience can feel connected with one through line to everything that I'm going to say. This series is not coming back to Brooklyn. It's ending in Boston. The Nets are going to go up 4-0. It's going to be a sweep, and then we're going to be on to the Bucks or whoever is next, and then that's the end of it, right? We're moving on. We're too good. Hours are getting too scary. It's simply too much. If we have Joe Harris shooting 7 of 10 from 3 because Boston just doesn't have anyone that can cover statistically, don't fight me on this, statistically, the best three-point shooter in the league, it's over. It's over for the league, but it's certainly over for the Celtics. I'm feeling great. Keith is feeling great. Let's get into this podcast.
Yo, we're talking brooms. We're talking Nets in 4. You already know that, though. We pretty much told you that in our preview, we laughed and joked on the preview about Evan Fournier and how much I hate that guy. And look at the first two games, like it's just perfect. Everything is perfect. Everything is great. And the fans are back in the arena. I want to start off with that. Before we get into the games, we're not going to do news and narratives. Like there's no reason to talk about NBA news or
we know the
narratives.
news. We know the narratives.
It's playoffs, baby. So what I want to say first is that first game, the Barclays Center had 81% capacity, 14,391 fans, 93% vaccinated. I do not have the numbers on last night, but I would assume that there was just as much, if not more, people in the building. Now, when we talk about people in the building and we talk about New York City and the place to be, it's the Barclays Center. And I want to read this tweet because I saw Kristen Winfield, our guy. Kristen, shout out to you if you're listening. He put out a list of the celebs that were in the building last night. And this list includes Travis Scott, A Boogie, Swizz Beatz, Lindsey Vonn, Sabrina Ionescu, Jocelyn Willoughby, Mike D from the Beastie Boys, Bow Wow, Wyatt Cenac, Kerry Kittles, Kelly Aucoin, Stephen, now we're getting into names I don't know, Ghostface Killah, Jay Critch, Conway, Mooski performed at halftime. She's a runner. She's a track star. It was lit in there. I don't know if you guys saw the pictures and videos and stuff that I was posting, the lights, the towels, fans just cheering, yelling, Brooklyn, or getting at the Celtics with the Boston sucks chants. We were doing Kyrie's better every time Kemba got to the free throw line. And then we threw him off when he missed. We started saying, Joe is better.
What a vibe. We earned this, Keith. We earned this. We spent so much time watching from home, sitting on our couches, and now it's the playoffs. The greatest show in the history of the NBA is on display, and we got fans there to see it. It's just what a vibe. What a great time to be a Nets fan. What a great time to be an NBA fan. I love it. I love it. And I can say genuinely, I love holding down the Twitter. It's my thing. I love doing it. I love growing it. I love seeing that we got Kendrick Perkins in our mentions talking shit. He got ratioed by a member of Nets Twitter. It was a great time. But I was a little jealous. Keith was at the game. Everyone was asking for me. And, man, I felt left out. But what a great time. What a vibe. Man, it's a Nets world. And it's only getting better from here. Crowd's only getting bigger from here. It's only getting louder from here. Nets aren't even close to 100% yet on capacity. We're on the way. It's just a great vibe. I'm loving it. Keith's loving it. It's so fun to be a Nets fan right now.
It's all good. I got you, my boy. You can spend the night at my house, pause all that, no funny stuff, no funny business. But you can sleep over here and you can go to the game whenever we can figure out what game to go to. Hudson lives all the way up in Albany. I didn't even realize, that shit is a hike, bro. I looked in the map. From my house to his house is 2.5 hours, and I'm about an hour away from the Barclays Center. So I'm like, damn, Hudson is a hike from where the Nets play. But another place that people were asking for Hudson was at Tailgate Brooklyn. Shout out to Tailgate Brooklyn. Saturday night, they hosted us. Brian Egan from the Glue Guys came out. Shout out to our guy Nets Head who was out there. We had about 20 Nets fans watching the game at Tailgate. And that's a good way to segue into game one. Now, talking about Saturday and talking about the fans, I think there was definitely an adjustment that needed to be made. We went to the game on May 15th. It looked completely different in there last night. The players had to adjust to having a full crowd behind them. And KD even came out and said, our fans were loud. They were there early. They definitely gave us an advantage. It was weird because we haven't seen them all season, but 15,000 there the last couple of months of the season, but to see people in the front row and to see more in the upper and lower bowl was pretty cool. And I saw KD almost kind of looking into the crowd, basking in it during big moments last night. Game one, I think, was an adjustment, and we came out kind of slow in game one. I said it was a scary hour for Nets fans. That first hour from the game tipping off to I don't know where we were when Kevin Durant fell, but it was the Nets couldn't hit a three. We were 0 from 3. It was a slow start. And with all this hype and all this expectation, it's scary for Nets fans to see the Nets start slow But if you've watched the Nets all season, you know they kind of come out in the first quarter and fill things out. Like, Hudson, were you worried when the Nets come out and it's like, man, the Celtics are hitting all their shots. The Celtics are playing up. It ended up being like that was the Celtics' best shot. And I don't think they got anything else after that. But were you shooketh? Were you looking at scary hours like it has turned on us?
I wasn't even that worried. You know who I was worried for, though, was I was worried for the Celtics fans because they, as soon as the Nets came out slow, as soon as the Nets couldn't hit their shots, they started talking pretty reckless on the timeline, talking about what are the scary hours. And that was a mistake. It was an oopsie on the behalf of Celtics fans because they poked the bear, right? And our guy, Eddie Gonzalez, Keith was hooking up with him at the game, pause, and he was saying the Nets were off for a week, and they looked like it. And that's what we saw. We saw a sluggish team. We saw a team that maybe wasn't so used to playing with fans in the same way that they were before, it being an adjustment, as Joe Harris alluded to in the second game's post-game press conference. And they made that adjustment at halftime, and then the Nets came out, and they just ran away with it. It was easy. But that game's highlight, it has to be the defense. It has to be the Nets switching defense that was just – it was beautiful. It was exactly the thing that we were looking for the Nets to do, to play great, solid defense in the playoffs and to take everything seriously. And that's what they did. The Nets really did shut them down defensively. And that was really my favorite part of the game because it shut up that narrative really quick. It said, oh, Tatum's going to drop 50 every game. No one's going to be able to cover him. No, Tatum's having a horrendous series. I think I saw a stat that for halfway through game one and then into the rest of game two, he's like 2 for 20 from the field. And he got poked in the eye, so that sucks. But like the Nets are shutting everybody down on defense. And when the shots started falling, when our buckets started going in, they just ran away with it. And that was the story, right? It was good morning, good afternoon, and good night to the Boston Celtics as soon as the second half tipped off. And the Nets haven't looked back, right? We're still balling. We're still keeping the energy. Anything accelerated. And that's what the vibe is, right? That's what it is to be a Nets fan right now. It's all about that acceleration. It's all about getting to that top speed, that 0 to 60 that we've been talking about in the run-up to the playoffs. It's just a vibe, right? Like, that's what the Nets are. We're just balling out, and we're running the league.
It's all vibes. It's Big 3 vibes, Big 15 vibes, hip-hop vibes, like I said, with all the different rappers in the building last night. And that first game was just like, we got to get to the vibe. We got to get into this playoff vibe. We got to get into this playoff atmosphere, this playoff setting, man. KD couldn't buy a bucket in that first game to start the first game, but he still ended up with 32 points. We had some issues. I wouldn't even say there were issues. Defensively, we held the Celtics to 93 points. They told me that the Nets don't play defense. What we had issues with was our own shots. We stopping ourselves. We just didn't have our own shots going. And like I said, KD missed a bunch of shots. He still ended up with 32. Then you get 29 out of Kyrie, who meant every time Kyrie dribbles the ball, you just hear the arena get louder. It's like the excitement to watch this guy do his thing. It's like, oh. Like, I love that. I love that Kyrie is a showman. And you know he's going to cook somebody. He put Evan Fournier on the floor. I saw your tweet you put out. You said he had a grown man playing Twister. Evan Fournier, we hate you, bro. You got to get hair plugs, dude. You are rich. That balding is not cool. You wear number 94. I don't know what kind of shoes you wear. You're not swaggy at all. We knew you were going to come into this series and try and be tough. KD almost smacked your goofy ass last night. But, yeah, there's not too many things to say about the first game. We got the win, and what it showed me was we could take the Celtics' best punch and still win the game. And win it pretty convincingly at the end, just turning it on in the second half. I was at tailgate saying the Nets just got to play better. Tale of two halves, and it was a tale of two halves. I think Dane texted me. Shout out Dane, DBM, beautiful monster. He was like, why didn't DJ play? And I'm like, it's a matchup thing, right? And I guess you're looking for a DJ to play when you see guys like Robert Williams giving us problems, when you see guys like Tristan Kardashian giving us problems. But, like, it's not a problem. Not a problem that DJ could solve, and not a problem that Nash or D'Antoni or Jacques Vaughn were worried about in the first game. It was a feel-out game, and we felt it out pretty well. And now let's go into the second game, right? The second game, last night is why I didn't want to do a podcast after the first game. Like, we do a pod after every 2 games, and I knew I was going to go to the second game and have some in-stadium content and have some in-stadium knowledge that I could bring to the pod. It was a different vibe at the Barclays Center last night. More security, more cops, more people. I still got in very easily. I want to shout out Doug Barrick. I want to shout out Bobby from the Brooklyn Brigade, bringing me into the block. I'm turning up. I'm usually in 203 in the bleachers screaming, "Let's go Yankees." Last night I got to step into the block, which is equivalent to like the bleacher creatures, the Brigade, or, you know, the Nets version of the bleacher creatures, and the block is the Nets version of Section 203. And we were getting it going with "Let's Go Nets." We were getting it going with Brooklyn, scary hours. And I could feel the energy, and I could feel that the team was feeling that energy. And Joey buckets. What else can you say about this game? Game 2 is the Joe Harris game. He went absolutely insane in that first half. And I'm like, this is the Joe Harris that we need activated for the playoffs. This is the big 4 Joe Harris. This is what they don't want. This is what they don't need. Like, when they see Joe Harris wide open, and we all saw it, we're screaming, like, get the ball to Joe. I think he started off like 4-4 from 3. He's on fire. Like, no heat. Like, what did you think about Joe Harris as you're watching the game and you're clipping it up and you're just like, this guy's unstoppable?
Every time he shot the ball, you never thought that it wasn't going to go in. It was a 100% guarantee that he was going to hit that shot. As soon, like, even the goaltend that they got called off was one of his early points. Like, you knew that was going in. It was all going in. Like, Joe Harris was just on a different planet. He's tying Nets or breaking Nets record for first half threes. He's getting close to Nets record for total playoff threes. And that's just what he is. He's a shooter. He's a sniper. And at this point, he's really entering the conversation of, you know, best shooters of all time. He's led the league in three-point percentage again. He's hitting ridiculous numbers. He's hitting them in the playoffs. And he's just unstoppable at this point. And that's what makes the Nets so unstoppable. If you have 3 players on the court that you have to double, that's 6 players already. You're not playing with 6 players. You're playing with 5 players. So you're already putting single coverage. And hilariously, it was mostly Evan Fournier on Kyrie, who got just sliced and diced in every which way in every game that he played. And then, you got 5 players covering those Nets 3. You still have 2 other Nets players that are just sitting alone on the court. And that happened to be Joe Harris sitting in the corner, Bruce Brown sitting in the slot right in the middle. It was just too easy for the Nets. And look, Joe Harris obviously leads the league in 3-point percentage, leads the league in catch and shoot 3-point percentage. He's going to hit those shots, but it just takes the air out of a team when you do everything you can to try to slow down, because you can't stop the big 3, and you just see the ball goes to a wide open 3-point shooter, but not just any 3-point shooter, the best in the game. It's a different vibe. It's a different mentality when you're playing the Nets. You have to be able, not just to be able to defend on those guys, you have to be able to hope that they miss. And we talked about it in the first game. We had the Nets play offensively the worst half of basketball they've played all season. The entire season with the big 3, that was the worst that they've played. And you had the Celtics playing great, and that wasn't enough, right? So if the Nets worst versus the Celtics best isn't enough, then the Celtics, mediocre versus the Nets best is certainly not going to be enough. And that was what the story was, right? It was just the Nets running away with it. And I'm just going to say what Richard Jefferson said. The Celtics lost that game the other way. There was never in doubt. Joe Harris went on a run, just took us from 17 points up to like 35, and the Nets didn't look back. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing in the playoffs. We're not looking back. We're not taking any second chances. We're not looking for any of that. We're just running away with it. And that's what we're going to do for the rest of this series.
Yeah, I think everybody in the NBA knows this series is over. The Celtics know. When Tatum went out last night, that was when I'm like, this is a wrap. Like, their only hope was Tatum. Kemba played well, but it's Kemba, bro. Like, he's not going to take over the game. Tatum going out, I was actually sitting right behind Tatum. If you go to our Instagram and you check our Instagram story, I was like, I hope Tatum's all right. Like, I'm a Duke fan. I watched Tatum come through Duke. Like, I root for the guy. He's a Kobe guy. And, without him on the court, like, it's over. And I wasn't sure what he hurt, What did he injure last night? I was very
He got like
into
his
the game.
cornea scratched. He got like his cornea scratched.
I thought it was
He
something
got,
with
like,
his
poked in the
face.
eye, and it like swelled up.
I thought it was something with his face, but like when I was looking at him, he was just like holding a towel to his face or maybe some ice to his face. And I guess it was enough where it was like, there's no point in coming back into this game. Like they were getting smoked anyway. It was like, there's no point in coming back to this game. But what I noticed about Tatum was he didn't rejoin them on the bench. He stayed in that corner spot, like away from the spotlight, like away from the main stage, like dejected. And I'm like, it is over. Boston sucks. And like, I love this. I love this. I'm a Nets fan. I hate the Celtics. The title of our last episode was, of course it's the Celtics. Of course we're going to smoke them first. They miss Kyrie. Kyrie is coming back to Boston. People want to talk about that goofy-ass trade. I saw an article about Billy King saying that trade was to get KD and make something up, I don't know, all these years later, 8 years later, about why that trade was made.
Like, I don't care. Don't care what you say, Billy King.
Just don't, bro. Just don't even do that, bro. Either way, the way the universe is set up, the universe never unconnects. These Boston fans got to deal with it, and I would love for us to sweep them on their floor this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, kick off the summer with brooms. What else from this game? Oh, Blake, Brooklyn. Blake.
Bouncing. With the left hand.
Boom. Boom. Bro. Watching Blake dunk like that is prime Blake. Vintage Blake, as you call it. Like Brooklyn Blake. The Blake that they thought was no more still exists. Shout out to Barstool Big Cat, PFT commenter. I know they've been watching Blake on our feed. You love to see it. Who else? Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet off the bench with 10 when you need it. Just how about our bench in general? We were over there like, cheese, please. Like, we wanted Chioza to get in. We wanted Alize Johnson to get in. He did. Our guy, Reggie Perry. Shout out to Reggie Perry, the only net that's on the roster that has been on Talking Nets. That's probably going to change in the offseason. Shout out to Reggie Perry. And then Lil TJ, Tyler Johnson. He came out there looking like Yellow Wolf. He came out there looking like Riff Raff. He came out there looking like
I can keep going. We got Meth Curry, Delonte East, Post Malone. Oh my God. And he saw that too. I put out a photo on the Twitter. I put out a photo on the Twitter and I said, name this player with him with the little twist. And he goes on Twitter after the game. He goes, Riff Raff, the best you got. And I love that. I love the interaction. And I mean, man, I don't know. I'm not going to make too many. I'm not going to throw too many, too many stones on his hairstyle. But Keith, I'll let you say what you're thinking because it's a look. It's a look.
Okay, so I had already noticed that hairstyle that he had before last night. The box braids. I think someone's braiding them up. Harden had those same braids, so maybe they have the same hairstylist. It's swag, it's jiggy, it's a playoff look. That's playoff TJ. Lil TJ is activated with some swag. I thought it was funny that people were clowning him, but yeah, I'm seeing in the chat and hold in the chat. We're definitely going to get to the chat for questions, but they're talking about KD's defense. I have in my notes.
Ignore it.
Talk about KD's blocks and dunks. Talk about the Durantula. And I call him the Durantula because I'm getting flashbacks to those old times. He's just so long, pause. He's just like, swatted one, get out of here. He dunks the ball with ease. KD is ridiculous. And when they talk about the Nets, right, when they kept talking about the Nets not playing defense, bro, when you have a 7-foot defender out here like KD, like that changes the defense. Then you throw a Nick Claxton out there, that changes the defense. Kyrie in that first game was locked in. Like when I talk about defensive energy, you could see the effort. You could see the I felt like we were seeing Duke Kyrie like slapping the floor. Duke Kyrie, you love to see it. KD is not just a shooter. He had 26 last night, 32 in the first game. But I mean, with Joe Harris having 25, he didn't have to go crazy. Harden, let's talk about Harden.
They didn't play 30 minutes. None of the big three, none of the starters played 30 minutes because he didn't need to.
They were on the bench. Yo, honestly, we're in the block talking, and it's like, as Nets fans, it's like, how hilarious is it? We're rooting on Uncle Jeff, which Uncle Jeff bruised his foot last night. I hope he's okay. I hope he's all right. I hope that's just like a ice him up, son. We don't need him for the rest of the series, honestly. If we
He can say it's fine, no worries.
If we want to just ice his foot up and rest, good. But we were talking about like Jeff Green and guys, other guys playing like Blake while the big three are on the bench, and then like in the stadium when they check back in the game and they announce like Kevin Durant checks back in the game. As Nets fans, it's ridiculous that we're like, yo, these guys are all on our team and we play well even when they're not on the floor. And when they check back in, it's just an embarrassment of riches. Like, we're spoiled. And I had a conversation with someone the other night, like, and I always say this, KD, Kyrie, and Harden being on any one team in the NBA is never something that I imagined. For it to be the Brooklyn Nets, it's a dream. Pinch me. We are in an actual dream. Walking into the Barclays Center, and these guys are on all of the like banners and marquees. Yes, our world, Nets world. What else from this game, man? I don't know. Like, we could go on forever.
We keep going, right?
We could go on forever, man. I just don't want to miss anyone. Oh, Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown, the masked man, masked Bruce. And I wanted to speak on this. We put out a nickname shirt. You guys should go to shop.johnboymedia.com and check out the three new shirts. Yeah, 3 new shirts for Talking Nets. We have a nickname shirt, one that says Joey Buckets. Good time to get you a shirt that says Joey Buckets. And if you use playoff code or the code playoffs, 20% off. That's a little plug, but really I'm just trying to get to this. Someone was like, oh, you guys should have put Biggie Smalls on the shirt for Bruce's nickname. One, Biggie Smalls is a rapper in Brooklyn. I didn't want that to be any confusion by someone that doesn't watch the Nets and doesn't know that Nets Twitter nickname. And 2, I wanted to have a name for Bruce where it's like commemorated, like forever this run, it'll say Mask Bruce. He's wearing the mask. He's doing his thing. And that is Bruce Brown. Anyway, shout out to Bruce. Shout out to Claxton. The whole bench. Mike James getting in the game. 5'5". I don't know. I just get excited to see Mike James in the game. Like, just his story. Like, this dude was in Russia a couple months ago, and now he's on the main stage with the Brooklyn Nets. You love to see it. DeAndre Jordan still DMPing. TLC got in the game. Like, everyone got in that game. And I look at these next 2 games against the Celtics. Like, yeah, you're going to get the Celtics' best shot. You're going to get their last shot. But let's just keep smacking them, and then our bench guys will do enough. Our bench guys can hold it down. You love to see this. James Harden with 20, Kyrie with 15, Blake Griffin with 11, Joe Harris with 25, and KD with 26. Hudson Flynn, add whatever you got from the Twitter space. I told Hudson before the show, I'm like, bro, me being at tailgate on Saturday, I get that live element, and then me being at the game on Tuesday, I get the in-stadium element. I'm missing some of the conversation on Nets Twitter. I'm missing some of the conversation that goes on. I get to scroll through and check, but it's different when you're live in the moment. What were some of the things that you picked on during the game, that you picked up on during the game? What were some of the themes that you came across that people were talking about?
Look, there wasn't much to read into, right? There wasn't like, no one was making any like super deep analysis because the Nets were just blowing them out. Like, it wasn't even close. You don't need to talk about Nash's rotations when you're playing TLC for the last 10 minutes of the game, right? Like, it didn't matter. So that's really what I think was most of it on Twitter. But I think we got to give a shout out to Nets Twitter, because Nets Twitter successfully owned 2 one major certified clown, and then one certified clown that maybe not everybody knows about. First, Kendrick Perkins showing up in our mentions, talking about how Trae Young jumping backwards into the defenders is not a foul. Trae Young is doing the right thing. I'm confused because he's an idiot. And I just want to point out, first off, we finally agree with Knicks fans on something. Trae Young jumping around, drawing fouls like that, kind of clownish behavior. But we have Kendrick Perkins jumping in our mentions saying that Trae Young's doing the right thing. Instantly, we have a Nets Twitter personality hop in and ratio him, and he got smoked. He got smoked on the ratio. It was embarrassing. Kendrick Perkins got embarrassed by Nets Twitter. And then we had to pull out the receipts. And I don't know if you guys know, there's a fairly well-known, I don't know if he's a troll or just an idiot, Sam Quinn on Twitter. He's verified. And over the summer, he got a lot of publicity for saying that KCP on the Lakers was not an overpay, but Joe Harris was an overpay. So, of course, we send that tweet out, poking a little fun at him, having fun with Joe Harris. He blocks us. Get out the kitchen if you can't take the heat. It's too easy. And that's just the vibe, right? It was just too easy. It was just too easy. The Nets are rolling. Nets Twitter is rolling. Everybody's just having a good time.
Man, I'm scrolling through the tweets now. It's awesome. It's just a good time. I feel like, playoffs, everyone knows playoff energy is a little bit higher. You got all these teams playing. Even last night, I came home from the game and I had to watch Lakers Suns. It didn't go the way I wanted it to go. I'm sorry. Like I'm a Bron fan, but this year I'm not rooting for Bron. Obviously, you know why I'm not rooting for Bron this year. I wanted the Suns to pull it off, but what I'll say is, man, for the Nets to be doing what they're doing online in the games, for us to be doing what we're doing with Talking Nets, meeting people in the stadium. Shout out to Alexis and her mom. I met her last night. Shout out to George. Shout out to George, who I met. Like so many people that have just come up to say, hey, we love what you guys are doing with Talking Nets. We appreciate you. I feel like Nets fans needed something like Talking Nets. I wasn't thinking about it a few years back. I wish I started it sooner, but hey, everything happens in God's perfect timing, and we here. So let's take some questions from the chat. Oh, no, let's do voicemails first. Voicemails first, and then questions from the chat. Shout out to y'all watching live on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast right now, you should be joining us live on YouTube. I know we just kind of randomly go live on YouTube, but maybe we'll start scheduling out when those times will come, and we'll start doing a little bit of like live streams during the game. We'll start doing just other content on our YouTube channel to help grow the YouTube channel. So let's start off with some voicemails. These came in after the game last night, and I think Hudson sent out a tweet to prompt you guys, and I'm glad a couple people called in. Let's see. This first voicemail, I'm not sure who it's from, but it's short.
Yo, it's O from Hackensack. Joey fucking buckets. That is all.
Hold on. We're going to run that back. Joe from Hackensack, Jersey, 201.
Yo, it's O from Hackensack. Joey fucking buckets. That is all.
That's all, right? That's all. Joe Buckets, Joey Buckets, Joey Hollywood, ready for the bright lights. Oh my God. It's too easy for the Nets, right? You spend all that time worrying about the big three, and then here comes the big four. And then, Blake Griffin dunks, here comes the big five. And Jeff Green's hitting threes and dunking on everybody. Here comes the big six. It doesn't end. Look, like I don't want to parrot too many lines that these players are saying because I want to come up with my own content. But Kevin Durant said we're a big 15. Last night, James Harden agreed with him, and that's exactly what we are. They can't stop us. No one can stop us. If you have Joe Harris putting up numbers like that, you can't even dream of stopping the Nets. You need to hope that we're having a bad night because on a good night, on a normal night, on an average night, nobody's beating the Nets.
Listen, I want to clear up another nickname. Broadway Joe. If you've been listening to Talking Nets from the beginning, I tabbed this guy as Broadway Joe. Not to insult Joe Namath, but you Jets fans got to chill. I saw some Jets fans on our Instagram kind of getting offended that I called Joe Harris Broadway Joe. Well, one, you Jets fans should be more offended that you haven't won anything since Broadway Joe. And two, nicknames get recycled, and there are multiple people with the same nicknames. Like it happens in sports all the time. I can't think of an example, but I will come back with one. I called Joey Harris Broadway Joe. I called Joe Harris Broadway Joe before the big three because of this. Late in games, and last night it was early in the game, but late in games in the past, Joe Harris flips a switch. Whether he's turning into fundamental Joe, getting a layup, getting a steal, whether he's hitting a clutch three late, which all Nets fans have seen Joe Harris hit clutch threes late. I called him Broadway Joe because we're in New York City. I called him Broadway Joe because the lights are brighter. I called him Broadway Joe because he turns into a star when we need him most. And last night we needed him to set a tone in game 2, and he turned into Broadway Joe with 14 1,000 people in the Barclays Center. All the stars were out. A star-studded event last night. And who shined the brightest? It was Broadway Joe Buckets. That's it. Let's play this next voicemail. This voicemail comes from our guy, JJ. JJ, you sent 2 voicemails in, my boy. The one from Saturday, I'm not going to play. I'm just going to play the one from last night. Here it comes.
Hey, Keith. Hey, Hudson. It's JJ from TNF again. Let's go. This game got me so hyped. But my little brother was going to sleep. So I wasn't able to react to anything. Kind of sucked. But still, this game was awesome. Blake was dunking all over people. Kyrie, KD, and Harden all did their thing. And Joey Buckets did not miss in the first half. Well, he had that one air ball, but, we'll ignore that. He looked so good. He had that, 3 or 4 possession span where he basically outscored the Celtics. It was a great game to watch. We won it from the tip-off, basically. It was over. Brooklyn,
you already know. Yeah, that one air ball from Joey was his heat check moment. Okay, he cooled off. He's not on fire anymore. That was a complete miss, but that happens. Even to the best shooters. All right. One more voicemail from Jamie, Hudson's favorite.
My favorite. All-time best Talking Nets listener and caller.
Jamie, enjoyed the game. The first half is what it. Hey, this is Jamie. Enjoyed the game. The first half is what we expected to see out of this team. I'm so excited. I do feel like there were a few lapses and we got a little bit more isolation in the second half, but still great game. It didn't matter at that point anyway. So, hey, y'all. Thank y'all again for all you do. Bye.
Appreciate you, Jamie, rocking with us for some time now. All we do is talk Nets and come up with videos and clips and ideas and go to games and try and share our world, Nets world. Literally, hey, if I'm going to the game, your window into the arena is through Talking Nets on Instagram, on Twitter. If Hudson is home and not at the game, you know he's going to be clipping the highlights for you. You know he's going to give you some memes, some funny tweets, just entertainment all around for the Nets community, for these Nets fans that deserve this time where your team is one of the top teams in the NBA. Your team is also one of the teams in the NBA that started off 2-0. Milwaukee leads their series against the Heat 2-0. Dallas leads the Clippers 2-0. And other than that, Philly leads 1-0. I think they play tonight. Atlanta leads 1-0. I think they play tonight. Memphis leads 1-0. That's interesting. Donovan Mitchell better hurry back. Denver series is tied with Portland 1-1. That one, who knows how that's going to go? That's going to be competitive. That one already got spicy. It's just always so late, man. Last night I was able to stay up and watch LeBron and them because I was wired from the game. But some of these nights where I'm not at a game, I can't stay up and watch the game till 12:30 in the morning. NBA, it's okay. It's funny because I'm washed. When I was a kid, I used to beg my mom to stay up and watch the NBA playoffs. It used to be bedtime, and my mom was like, "No, you got to go to sleep. Turn the TV off." I'm like, "Please." She used to let me stay up. Now I'm washed where I can't stay up. My eyes are closing as I'm trying to watch the TV. But yeah, Lakers, Suns tied 1-1. So what I'm saying is, our world, Nets world, the Nets can sweep the Celtics and then potentially have a couple extra days to chill, and that's what you want. I saw someone in the chat ask about, who do we think is going to be a tougher series, the Bucks or the Sixers? I guess they're assuming that the Bucks definitely come out of their series, which I'm assuming that too, and they're also assuming that the Sixers beat whoever they got to beat. Honestly, I think it's the Bucks. And we said in our preview before, the Bucks are going to get that respect from us because of what they did against us recently, a few weeks ago in the regular season. And so the Heat forced overtime with them in that first game. They came out and completely smacked the Heat in the second game, and they can score. It's going to be a high scoring matchup, and it's going to be a high firepower matchup. You're looking at MVPs. You're looking at guys that can shoot it, guys that are the best in the world. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to that Milwaukee series. Hudson, we got to get in the arena for that.
Oh, we are getting into the arena for that. I think that's going to be the next game in Brooklyn is going to be against Milwaukee. So, of course, I'm looking forward to that. And look, Milwaukee's a team that they can get hot, right? They have that same type of ability to have secondary scorers go off from three. We saw Bryn Forbes light it up for them, right? Like, that's the ability that they have that's similar to the ability the Nets have. So that's why I see them as the biggest threat, not just in the East. I think that right now, for me, if I'm a Nets fan and I'm choosing to be worried about any team, because you, as a Nets fan, you should not be worried about any team. If you look at our graphic, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on the live right now, you see right there we have the Larry O'Brien Trophy, because that's really what the challenge is. We're trying to get there, but I would pick the Bucks to be a little worried about. But that's only because I have to choose. If I'm being honest, I'm more worried about the Nets staying healthy, getting healthy in terms of Spencer Dinwiddie, and just not stopping themselves. Because, again, if you're looking for a challenge that the Nets are facing, the challenge is with themselves. It's with staying healthy. It's with not, shooting themselves in the foot, kneecapping themselves. No one's going to do it, right? No one's better. No one has more talent. No one has more depth. The Nets only can stop themselves, and I don't think they're going to. So, if that's what the line is, then the Nets are champions, and we just have to get there.
Nets in 4, 14 more. Nets in 4, 14 more. Nets in 4, 14 more. That's what type of time I'm on. Let's hit this chat. I see y'all rapping in the chat about your fandoms. We got some Nets, Yankees, Giants fans, Nets, Mets, Jets fans. That's cool and all. But now it's time to send your questions about your Brooklyn Nets, about talking Nets, about the playoffs, about the NBA, whatever you guys want to ask in this last 4 minutes until we wrap this thing up, 4 or 5 minutes till we wrap this thing up. And the plan here is to cover these games this weekend and be back with a new pod, most likely on Monday or Tuesday. It is Memorial Day weekend, so maybe we won't pod on Monday, but we'll see what Hudson and I got going on. I am expecting a sweep. But maybe we don't sweep. Maybe the Celtics miraculously somehow get like a 50-point game out of Tatum and they beat us. I just doubt that, man. I think they're done. Stick a fork in them. Let's see. Going to the chat. Do you have any concern about playing the Bucks? I don't have any concern about playing the Bucks. We pretty much just talked about it. Like, I have respect for the Bucks. I respect what they did against us in the regular season. But they didn't play with Harden on the court. And I think the biggest thing is going to be that Harden has beef with Giannis from some comments. I know they're past it. But, like, Harden is going to go out of his way to show Giannis and the Bucks and the Deer, Fear the Deer, the Greek Freak, all of that, like, they can't rock with us. Hudson, are you afraid of the Bucks matchup? Because, like I said, I respect what they did against us in the regular season, but Harden wasn't out there. That wasn't the team that they're going to face, and I think we'll be finding a matchup with them. I think we'll be better than finding a matchup with them. I'll take our home court advantage over theirs for sure. I'm actually going to Wisconsin. Oh, I just put two in to get – whoa. I'm actually going to Wisconsin the weekend of June 5th. Wait on that. I was like –
he's going to pull up to the fires of form.
Hey, bro, if that time's up, I have a wedding. One of my friends, his wife is from Wisconsin. I ain't never been to Wisconsin. I'm going to Chicago next Thursday, Friday. Then we're riding out to Wisconsin Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
That's 3 days. It's going to be a game in those days, Keith.
Hold on. It could line up where we could we're going to see. If I'm in Wisconsin and there's a game, like, okay. Because they'll have home court advantage over us since they beat us in the regular season. No, we're the higher seed. So, like,
we got home court.
They'll get the first two games. The first two games will be in Brooklyn. So I don't think that's going to line up. I would love for it to, because if you're going to Wisconsin, might as well go see, like, the Milwaukee Brewers.
Not sure what else they're going to do, let's be honest.
I'm going to go to a wedding, get drunk, and see my friends, and then fly back. I don't know. What else from the chat? I would honestly love for that. Someone said, "Are you watching the Ix tonight?" Of course, it's the playoffs.
Absolutely.
You should watch every NBA playoff game that you get the chance to watch because they're competitive games. They're awesome storylines. Like I love what I'm seeing out of the Memphis Grizzlies right now. I think it's hilarious that the Mavericks get the Clippers and there's already beef there and they go up 2-0 and the Clippers kind of just fell into that spot through how they played at the end of the season. And it's like, you're about to get a first round exit and you're supposed to be this all powerful Kawhi Leonard, PG, Pat Bev, Boogie Cut. Like, get out of here, man. Like, I don't know. When are we going to have the parade? The parade will be probably like within a week of the championship. I think sometime in late July.
Late July, maybe first week of August, someone like that. I'm looking forward to it, though. That's gonna be exciting. Someone asked, "Oh, Keith, this one is something I want to ask you. What do you feel about the LeBron situation? Him not getting fined, and then Kristaps getting the fine?"
Well, LeBron is the king. This is the king's court. Like he's the biggest ticket. Like this, it's LeBron. LeBron, you can't treat LeBron like anybody else in the league. Like when you talk about Tom Brady, right? Like he's the Tom Brady of the NBA. They get different rules for Tom Brady. Tom Brady gets to do whatever he wants in the NFL. It's the same type of thing, you know. Because I felt like, you know, with Karras didn't get to play for the Pacers in the 2 games that the Pacers had because of COVID protocols. The King, that didn't matter. And then like with him flopping, I don't know, bro. I used to be a LeBron fan. I used to tell people all the time, I'm a Nets fan and a LeBron fan. I used to say that because the Nets weren't really competitive, and you need to have a player that's competitive to root for and watch like in like high intensity games. I was a LeBron fan. This year, I'm not a LeBron fan. LeBron is washed. I don't like the Lakers. I don't like their fans at all. And I don't like how there's different rules for him. He has a complete different set of rules in the NBA because of how gigantic of a figure he is. So, yeah, I think that's whack. But, yeah, back to the question, are we watching the X game tonight? Yeah. I watched that first game, and now we might as well address this. I had said on what was that Sunday night? On Sunday night when the Knicks played, I like my boys, my Pinstripe Strong homies there, Chris and Jeremy, they're Knicks fans, and I said, go New York, let's get 2 wins for the city, you know, because I understand what New York City will be like if we have 2 teams in the Eastern Conference in the second round of the playoffs. Like, I understand having 2 teams in New York in the final teams in the NBA, like how the city will be on tilt, bro. It'll be cracking out here. Like, even if I hate the Knicks, even if I hate their fans, I understand it's good for Manhattan, New York, like this area. So I was rooting for them until Evan Roberts tweeted out, which Evan Roberts was in the arena. So anyone that says this like wasn't true is stupid. Like Evan Roberts has no reason to say this. He says, "Oh, you know, they just broke out a Brooklyn sucks chant." And I'm like, focus on you. Focus on yourself. We didn't chant that in the Barclays Center. We're not worried about y'all. Why are you thinking about us? You're goofy fans consistently thinking about us. So basically, I put out a tweet and I said I was rooting for the city until I heard this. And I sent it to Hudson. And then basically Hudson just went on a quick like troll spree with like 5-6 tweets, rent free. It's fucking quiet in here with Trae Young. And then, of course, we get the Knicks fans with, you know, we won't repeat some of their responses. It's just scum. And we took a second to jab at them. And someone wanted to say, oh, you guys say you don't talk about the Knicks. That was in the regular season. We swept you bums, and now we're on your fucking heads. Like, honestly, we're not little brother anymore, and we don't have to take it from Knicks fans. Now, no, we're not consumed with the Knicks, but when it comes to dancing on their grave, they lost that opening game, and Trae Young did it in an incredible fashion. And as Nets fans, after they chanted Brooklyn sucks, we stood up for Nets fans. We're not going to just turn the other cheek. We're not going to always be the mature ones. It's our world, Nets world, and they're under us. So it is what it is. All right. Sorry, rant over. What else we got from the chat? I think it's time to wrap this up. If we play defense like we did like every night, ball, no. Bron, yes. All right. I think that's all we got here. We'll keep this under 50 minutes on the live podcast, probably be a little bit less than that. It's time to wrap this thing up. You guys know what to do. Leave us reviews. I'm going to read these reviews quickly. Shout out to everyone that wrote a review. Mr. Chef 13 writes 5 stars. Go Nets. The road to 100 reviews. Love the show. Thanks for putting in the work. Took a lot of work. Someone said, you guys spend half your time talking about the Knicks. And you know what my reply to that was? If you knew how much time it took to build Talking Nets, you wouldn't say that. We don't even spend 1% of our time talking about the Knicks. Next review, 5 stars. Neon156 writes, Nets World, 2 podcast goats. Keith and Hudson bringing you the best Nets pod out there. Fire. Appreciate it, bro. Next one is NDRND. Like, some people have, I don't know how you have an Apple account that looks like you just hit the keyboard 3 times with your hands and let any letters type. But this guy writes 5 stars. Nets World. This podcast is genuinely one of the best I've ever listened to. I went from following the Nets casually to a knowledgeable fan. I got to start over. I don't know why I can't read. Nets World. This podcast is genuinely one of the best I've ever listened to. I went from following the Nets casually to a knowledgeable fan whose love for the game and Nets has grown immensely because of Keith and Hudson. I wish I could do a podcast with these guys because they truly know what they're talking about. Keep it up, guys. Can't wait to see you grow and become a major sports podcast. Above all else, our world, Nets World. We fooled you. We're just fanalists. We don't know what we're talking about. We're just fans of this. We just say stuff about the Nets. All right, and that's all we got. Upcoming playoff schedule. Obviously, we've got 2 games in the TD Garden with the Celtics. Friday, May 28th at 8:30 on Yes ABC. Sunday, May 30th at 7 p.m. on Yes TNT. I know the game was on Pix last night. That's where the Yes broadcast was. Obviously, these games are all nationally broadcast. And we'll be back with a new podcast after that. Subscribe, rate, review. I think we're at 88 reviews or 87 reviews.
Close. We're
trying
so
to get
close.
to 100.
Get us that 100, baby. Come on. Get us that 100.
Trying to get to 100. And then we'll read your name on the pod. So that's a perk. Leave a voicemail, 201-870-0461. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Talking Nets. Subscribe to the YouTube. The YouTube is growing, and we plan on doing more content here besides just the pod. Make sure you go to shop.johnboy.com. Search podcast merch. Search Talking Nets. We've got a We Support Kyrie shirt. Just like you see my sign says We Support Kyrie. Now we've got it on a shirt. We've got another shirt that says Scary Hours Are for Playoffs. Awesome shirt. Shout out to our guy Matt who made that and the nickname shirt, which I already talked about. Right now, and probably through the playoffs, promo code PLAYOFFS gets you 20% off the shirts. So buy all 3 of the shirts and get 20% off and you'll save. That's all we've got. Hudson Flynn, you got any closing remarks?
Let's go Nets. Let's get this sweep. Next time we talk to you, it's going to be a playoff series review and a Bucks preview.
We're talking rooms in Boston, baby. Where is Kyrie? You got him now. Boston sucks. Let's go Nets. Brooklyn. All right. Podcast is like 50, 51 minutes. That's fine. I always want these to be like 45 minutes to an hour, no more than an hour. Shout out to everybody that watched in the YouTube chat early with us this morning. We're done with the pod by 10:30. Got to let Hudson go do his thing. But yeah, we'll be back real soon. Keith, are you watching the Sixers too? I'm watching everybody, baby. It's the playoffs, baby. I'm watching everybody. Like, of course, I'm watching everybody. Like, it's NBA playoffs.
What else
All right.
we got? Nash is coaching. I like it. It's been fine. No complaints. Nets are blowing people out. I don't need to worry about it right now when they're blowing people out.
Hasn't been like a crunch time situation yet where Nash has to we're good. Season ticket holder when we was in Prudential Center. Bro, I wish I had a season tickets when we were in Newark. We were only in Newark for like 1 season, I think. It was like the holding cell, like in between Continental Airlines Arena and East Rutherford. We played in the Rock, the Prudential Center where the Devils play in Newark, and then we went to Brooklyn. And back then I didn't have any bread. I was broke. I didn't get to any of those games. It happens, when you're young. It's hard to have money and stuff. Well, it's hard to make money until you have like experience and time. All right. That's all we got. Oh, someone said 3 to 4 years there. Oh, I guess it was 3 to 4 years. I don't know. I felt like it was only a year or two, but what do I know? I forget. My memory's not that sharp. All right, people. Love y'all.